Welcome to your weekly episode of Talk. We're your host, Eddie Marmolejo.
And Jaime Moreno.
So, Jaime, we're in day 9,249 of this pandemic. You know, a lot of people are dead. A lot of people are recovering. But can you give the viewers the actual number as to what's going on with this coronavirus?
Yes, we are actually on day 96 of the coronavirus pandemic. So we're 4 days away from 100 days of this world pandemic, right? Currently around the world, there is 2.8 million people who have coronavirus, who are infected by this virus. Mm-hmm. There's 202,800 people who have died of the coronavirus. But here at Talk, we also want to focus on the recovery. How many people are recovering from coronavirus, not just dying? Because the news cycle is going to give you the death numbers, and they're going to scare you. But here at Talk, we want to provide you also with hope and understanding that there's a solution to this, that there's hope at the end of the tunnel. And currently, 817,000 people around the world have been able to recover from coronavirus. That means that there's no vaccine yet, but they've been able to survive. Here in the United States, we're currently at 956,000 people with coronavirus. 53,000 people are dead because of it. However, 102,000 people actually have survived, have recovered from the coronavirus pandemic. So that's good numbers. That's positive.
Absolutely. Favorite numbers right there. Yes, sir.
I also noticed that between the death numbers and recovery numbers, there's a gap, right, of people. We don't know what's going on. Are they going to recover or not? I mean, 102,000 minus 956,000, that leaves roughly 800,000 people, right, infected. And then if you subtract 53,000, that leaves about 750,000 people infected. What's going on with the 750,000 people? We don't know, but we're assuming that they're going to recover from this soon, and they're going to be able to get back to their normal lives, right? But so far, the recovery numbers are higher than the death numbers. And that is a positive thing. That is good news because that means there's hope. That means that we can be able to fight this off. And sooner or later, we're going to be able to have the immune system and the vaccine to be able to kill this once and for all.
Yeah, that's great to hear that. And you're right, that disparity, which has been challenged from projections to current data, is something that we got to keep a close eye on. It looks like the recovery rate is higher than the death rate, and it's great to hear. So we'll definitely keep a look on that as well. But before we go into our discussions for this week, please subscribe to our channel. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think. Also, to subscribe to our social media pages, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Let us follow our snips there. Of course, tune in for your thoughts. Let us know what you think and so forth. But let's get into this week's discussion. So, if you trust TMZ as a great, reliable source, which we don't, they came out with a story saying that Kim Jung Un is basically in a vegetative state. In other words, he's non-functional, or as we say here, dead. Right? Somewhere along those lines. He's either dead, he's in a coma, whatever. The reason we're going to bring this up is because it's something serious. Okay, right now it's still in a rumor. It's still in a rumor stage. There's no reports coming out. The latest was that a couple Chinese doctors and advisors went into North Korea to help out the surgeon that was operating on Kim Jung Un, who stated that he had trouble because Kim Jung Un's obese, so he had no idea how to operate on obese people. So they sent some Chinese advisors to go into North Korea, and that's basically where we're at. There's no details at this time, so I'll keep an eye on it, because if it does become something more serious, I will go in depth in this topic, as it will have major geopolitical implications, because there is no clear line of succession right now. A lot of people are saying that it could be Kim Jung Un's sister who takes over if he were to pass away, or maybe his brother. And the problem is we don't know what their relationship to the military is and so forth. And like I said, it's something I would have to look in deeper for you guys. But we're gonna leave it and just keep an eye on it because it is a major thing to look when it comes to East Asian geopolitical politics. So keep an eye on that one. So let's start with the discussions.
So we'll see what happens.
So let's start, Jaime. So let's start with Governor Cuomo of New York. Mr. Cuomo, the great governor who keeps fighting with Donald Trump on everything. Talking from ventilators.
Who cares about Governor Cuomo?
What do you mean, who cares? He's the man. They were asking him to be the Democratic nominee for crying out loud, sir.
Oh, that's right. He is the leader, the true leader in this pandemic.
Yeah, well.
Right? Well, Governor Newsom is an idiot, first of all, in my opinion, in terms of preparedness for this pandemic. And I think in MM Talk, we already discussed that point where he is blaming everything on the federal government, where he himself, who has been a governor in New York for many years, wasn't prepared for this either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but the interesting thing that we found out this week is that Governor Cuomo is referencing MM Talk. Here in MM Talk, we made a lot of points, and Governor Cuomo, I think he watched our show or episode, or one of his staffers probably watched it and gave him the notes that we had. Eddie, can you please play that video so our viewers can figure out what is it that Governor Cuomo quoted from MM Talk?
Okay, so yeah, let's get into this video real quick. Governor Cuomo, the floor is yours, sir.
You look back, does anyone think the virus was still in China waiting for us to act 2 months later? We all talk about the global economy and how fast people move and how mobile we are. How can you expect that when you act 2 months after the outbreak in China, the virus was only in China, waiting for us to act? The horse had already left the barn, but...
Okay, let's stop right there. The horse had already left the barn. The argument from the left and the media is that you had intel. You didn't act on intel, right?
Yeah.
How do you not react? You should have known about it.
You were warned about it. You were told, but you didn't listen to it. Trump did not listen to reports. But Governor Cuomo is saying that 2 months before it hit the United States, China had it. China didn't, like the virus didn't just say, okay, let's wait until America gets the idea of the virus and then we'll go hit them. Pretty much saying that it's been contained in China 2 months before the United States even got a wind of it.
Let's go on.
By the time
And then Talk said that.
the researcher now says, knowing the number of flights coming into New York from Italy, it was like watching a horrible train wreck in slow motion. Those are the flights that were coming from Italy and from Europe, January and February. We closed the front door with the China travel ban, which was right. Even in retrospect, it was right. But we left the back door open.
All right, let's stop right there. You see, now we're going to go into our episode because we said, right? Check this out. We know, and by the front door, he means that he closed off all travel from China, right? He banned all travel from China. That is the front door. The back door is Europe, okay? Because if you go from west to east, because I don't think I really have to explain all that. What happened in Italy, Jaime? Why didn't they close down Italy when they were getting the influx of Chinese and the influx, right, of basically growing cases of coronavirus? What prevented them from taking measures that could have probably diminished the number of cases in Italy? What was the number one factor?
Well, the number one factor, according to Italy's top virologist, said that they were afraid of being accused for xenophobia against Chinese, that they knew it was coming in from China, and anybody coming in, traveling from China, was carrying the disease or this potential disease. And instead of stopping people from coming in, they allowed them to enter Italy, therefore avoiding being called xenophobic, but in reality, they caused the problem. That's why Italy was so massively affected by coronavirus prior to the United States.
And
Because
what did
they were afraid of being called racist.
and what did Joe
Go
did
ahead.
Joe Biden call the president when he closed the front door? And Governor Cuomo's words.
Everyone in the left, from Joe Biden to the local news media, called Donald Trump racist and xenophobic
Okay.
for closing the border from China.
Okay.
Now Cuomo is saying that was the right thing to do in retrospect.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go on.
Because the virus had left China by the time we did the China travel ban. That's what the researchers are now saying, with 28,000 cases in the United States, 10,000 in New York. So what is the lesson? An outbreak anywhere is an outbreak everywhere.
Uh-huh.
When you see November and December an outbreak in China, just assume the next day it's in the United States.
Let's pause it right there, because that's the magic line. In our episode of China is to Blame, when we were talking about why it took us so long, right, to even react to this situation, as in retrospect to Korea and how they reacted, we said that all recent pandemics, let's say in the last 10, 15 years, the United States has dealt with them abroad and never had a real scenario for dealing with it at home. South Korea, and South Korea, out of a rumor, they reacted like that, right? Because they were finding out some people had gone from a church had gone to China. There's this rumor that there's a breakout in China. Now people are getting sick from a trip to China. Oh, okay, yeah, we got to close it all down. Because we know that China does not handle outbreaks, thoroughly. So now Governor
They're not honest
Cuomo,
about it.
now Governor Cuomo is like, you have to react even on a rumor.
Yeah,
Again.
and I think, and that's true, because we even said here in MM Talk, yeah, we heard rumors about coronavirus. We even talked about the memes that were coming out, right? But we never thought it was going to come into the United States. And what Cuomo is saying is that we can't trust China's intel. We can't trust China's reporting of it.
Exactly.
Because that's the reason we're in this situation right now, because we trusted China saying everything's in control, nothing's wrong, and ain't even bad. We trusted China's intel, therefore we are in the position we are now, right? But if we question China, and this has been evident over the fights on who's responsible and the fights with the World Health Organization, is if you question China, all of a sudden you're xenophobic, you're anti-Asian, you're Chinese, and that's racist because you're questioning the country, right? Questioning the country's leadership. No, you're questioning the country's leadership because you want answers. You want to prevent this from happening. And Cuomo is literally telling the news broadcasters what here at MM Talk said, is that we can't trust China honesty and integrity when it comes to world or things like this.
All right, so let him hear. Let him say it.
When they say it's in China, just assume that virus got on a plane that night and flew to New York or flew to Newark Airport, and it's now in New York. That has to be the operating mentality, because you don't know that the virus didn't get on a plane. All you need is one person to get on that plane in China and come to New York. The way this virus transfers, that's all you need. And you can't assume 2 months later, the virus is still going to be sitting on a park bench in China waiting for you to get there. That is the lesson. And again, why do we need to learn the lesson? Because they're talking about this happening again with this virus, where it could mutate in China and get on a plane and come right back. Or the next virus, or the next pandemic. Whose job is it to warn us of these global pandemics?
Oh, please tell us.
The president says it's the World Health Organization. And that's why he's taking action against them.
Oh, okay.
Not my field, but he's right to ask the question.
Oh, is he now?
Because this was too little too late.
Oh, really?
And let's find out what happened so it doesn't happen again. And it will happen again.
Okay, hold your horses. So Governor Cuomo, in less than a minute, said Trump is right about questioning WHO. He said, I'm not going to get into the politics because that's not my field. But he's right in asking the questions. He's right to say, hey, why didn't you investigate? Why should I still keep funding you when you're probably a puppet of China? All those questions, right? All those got to be answered. Who is to blame for this outbreak? Why didn't you go in deeper? Right? Why didn't you investigate this deeper? That's Governor Cuomo. That's not talk. That's not Eddie. That's not Jaime. That's not Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, any conservative pundit. That's Governor Cuomo, Democrat governor of New York, telling you that Trump closed the Trump closing China saved lives. But unfortunately, due to faulty intel, we did not know about, for him, 28,000 people that had traveled from Italy, or the 750,000 that we found out flew out of China in December.
Exactly. Here in Evan Talk, we explained to our viewers, you the viewers, about the timeline on the situation and how we are affected by it now. And Governor Cuomo is pretty much quoting us and saying that China did it wrong. The World Health Organization didn't help at all. It's their responsibility to warn the world. And we can't trust China's intel. And what President Trump has been doing with banning of the travel, pretty much everything Trump has done so far in terms of holding people accountable for what's going on, he has back too much. Because the news media is telling you it's all Trump's fault, it's all his fault.
He wants to divert blame.
And he wants to divert blame to someone else. When in reality, other people are to blame for this because they have certain responsibilities to the world and to the community at large about these things. And Governor Cuomo touched on it. Now let's see if the media will actually now retract, which I doubt.
No, they're not. They're not. They're gonna. They got stuck on the clone and the disinfectant. They're still coming out with ways to find out how you're gonna inject yourself with that. By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, yesterday we put out a video, right, where we broke down essentially the statement of the president saying that people should inject themselves with disinfectant and how the media took that out of proportion. If you have not seen that, go to Instagram. We have that breakdown there. That's why we're not discussing a 10-minute segment on why you shouldn't inject yourself with disinfectant, okay? Read the label on the back, and let's move on. So Cuomo backs the president. Talk said it about, I don't know how many weeks ago, but hey, if you don't trust non-conservative pundits, I guess you can trust the Democrat governor of New York. Hey, whatever, right? Let's just, so it is what it is.
All right, so moving on from Cuomo, let's talk about the AIDS package that, Congress has passed, right? The rescue packages. But more specifically, let's talk about the colleges, right? Because colleges right now, there's no one in school. Everyone's at home. Whether you're in middle school, high school, or even college, you're at home right now. So in the part of the stimulus package, there's the CARES Act that talks about colleges. Now, the problem with that is that the wealthiest colleges in the country, okay, are taking some of that money, right? So the biggest scandal has been Harvard University, which has the highest endowment in the nation, $40 billion.
$40 billion.
Billion dollars, you know, in reference to Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, right? $40 billion. And Harvard has the audacity to ask the federal government for $9 million in aid, okay? Yale, which has $30 billion in funds, asked the federal government for money too, around $8 million. And then Princeton goes ahead and asks the federal government for money too. Princeton has about a $20 billion endowment, okay? So these Ivy League schools who have billions of dollars in resources are asking the federal government for aid. Now you might think, why would they do that? I mean, who gave them, who gave them the permission? They applied. They literally applied for the aid. Okay, it wasn't like the government said, we'll give them to Harvard. It's not like the stimulus package we gave $35 million to the Kennedy Center just because. Like, these universities literally had to apply for the federal aid and had to show how they've been negatively affected by COVID-19. And they applied and they got the approval. Harvard, okay? Let's focus on Harvard right now. Harvard is the top university, right? It's the most wealthiest top university in the United States, even around the world, okay? Harvard is also a school where a lot of progressive liberals come from, It's where they teach a lot of students about the income disparities around the country and social racism and institutional racism and how we need reparations. I mean, that's the university where Elizabeth Warren used to teach, okay? That's the university where they want social justice, where the university where a lot of social, progressive, liberal ideas come from. That's the university where a lot of students come out and say, "Oh, the wealth get wealthy, and it's welfare for the rich." And what is Harvard doing? Exactly what they teach the students to be against. Harvard's $40 billion endowment is nothing, right? They have the capacity to sustain themselves during this coronavirus pandemic, all right? But yet they're trying to get a welfare tax on themselves, right? The hypocrisy of this university is just astounding, okay? So President Donald Trump brings it to the forefront, right? And saying, why does Harvard should return the money because they have way too much in their endowment.
Right.
Okay. Harvard still insists that they're going to use the money for students and to help pay staff, right? It isn't until Harvard gets political and media pressure and pressure in the internet, by Twitter, people and all that stuff on social media, does Harvard decide to give in and give the money back. All right. So this is the university where a lot of liberals come out and say the rich get richer, that we should tax the wealthy, and the wealthy are just abusing the poor. We should, go against these institutions. And the same institution who's teaching you this is doing the same thing it accuses the wealthy to do. The hypocrisy is just wow. It's just wow. Okay? That's why I brought this up in this episode. It's just like, really? Harvard 40. I keep repeating myself, but I want you to understand the hypocrisy of a lot of the liberal stuff. You can talk, I'm not going to talk about conservative hypocrisy because you guys get that from the media 24/7. But let's talk about the liberal hypocrisy, right? They hate the wealthy, the 1%
Right.
to give all their wealth. You have AOC talking about how they stole billions of dollars from the poor and the working class, right? Yet Harvard University, Yale, Princeton, MIT, all these top wealthy universities are taking money from the U.S. federal government, taking money away from small colleges, like here in our county, like Claremont College, or maybe Cal State or UC, or maybe even a community college that might need that money, right? They need that money to sustain themselves. And these $40 billion endowments at these universities, they don't need the money from the federal government. And it's a shame that Harvard had to return the money after receiving pressure. They didn't even care. They're like, yeah, we're getting $9 million. Who cares? We got $40 billion endowment. Yeah, I know, but we're still going to get the government money because we applied for it. I mean, the only honest university who has billions of dollars and then applied for this loan is Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a $15 billion endowment. And Notre Dame is quoted saying, we never applied. But if we had applied, we would have used it for students. But we're not going to apply for the aid. Okay?
Man.
So that's my spiel on that. Wealthy universities who preach and try to who lecture America on income and wealth disparities around the world and in America is doing the same thing they're accusing others of doing. All right. So Harvard, thank you for returning the money, but yet you're still a hypocrite because you had to do it after receiving pressure. You wouldn't even fall bold enough to return the money out of moral responsibility to your fellow low-income colleges and universities.
All right.
All right.
And let's stay on the topic of hypocrisy and double standards here. Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe?
Yeah. The guy who marched, who took the march to freedom with Nelson Mandela.
the man who likes to go swimming with kids and they touch his hairs and his leg hairs because they've never seen golden hairs.
Right, that guy. So, he is being accused now of sexual allegations. What?
Oh, he's been accused of sexual allegations, huh?
Yeah, it's a sexual allegation now. Interesting. So,
wait, we're talking about the man who claims to be the fighter of women, who during the Kavanaugh hearings was the first one to say that we should take all women seriously and believe all women. That guy, the guy where there's hundreds of pictures of him kissing little girls,
that guy,
and women behind their back and throwing their hairs. That guy.
So there's an allegation coming from Tara Reid, who used to be an aide for him years back. Okay, so she was an aide for him, and basically she's accusing of Joe Biden, basically touching her clothes, underneath the clothes, stuff like that. There's reports saying that they don't know. Huh? Dude, let's not even go there. Let's not even use that one. But it's basically improper, touching and so forth. We don't know if it, excuse the language, if it went all the way. I'll leave it for you to figure out what that means, right? We're still trying to figure out that much. But here's the point. It's funny how stars like Alyssa Milano, pre-menopause Alyssa Milano, right, said that people like Kavanaugh, they're guilty of rape, even just by the allegation alone, like Hamid just brought up, the Me Too movement and all that. But when it comes to Joe Biden, she figured out there's due process. That we should maybe not believe all women, that maybe we should look into it. Oh, okay, so...
Wait, the same people who, during Justice Kavanaugh's hearing, who came out and said, believe all women, and that Judge Kavanaugh is guilty because of his allegations, and he's a rapist and a womanizer and whatever they want to call him, sexual assaulting, he's the most vile creature to get in the Supreme Court, who didn't care about his due process, are now saying that Joe Biden deserves a due process?
Yes, that's exactly what I just said.
I just can't believe it, Eddie. How? obvious is this double standard in the media?
It gets worse.
It gets
worse. It gets worse. The New York Times took 19 days to even bring up the allegation in their newspaper. 19 days.
Wow.
And when their editor was asked, why did it take 19 days? The response was, well, we had to actually, investigate, make sure that everybody that was involved, make sure that the information was valid, and we had to double check it. That's, also you had to analyze. You actually had to do investigative journalism. Oh, okay. Donald Trump.
The same Washington Post.
No, New York Times.
New York Times, sorry. The same New York Times that wrote article after article after article after article on how Judge Kavanaugh is a danger to America because of the allegations by Ms. Ford. All of a sudden, it's saying that we need to invest without them even looking at evidence and going through due process, right? Based on her words alone, they're basing how dangerous this man is to the Supreme Court. That same newspaper is now saying that, we just need to give Joe Biden some time and real investigative journalism before we publish things to make sure the accuracy of her statements. Wow, that is just
double standard. How
obvious is this, Eddie? How obvious is this?
19 days. 19 days. Due process exists for Joe Biden. Kavanaugh and Trump, immediate. But
immediate condemnation.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see if even the left takes its own advice and investigates this on Biden, because there's clips coming out now. People starting to ask questions, but we'll see. All right, so let's move on. So
let's come back to coronavirus. What's going on?
So coronavirus, especially in Latinos, right? This is a show also that focuses a lot on the Latino community. Okay. We're trying to bring awareness as well. So the Guardian had an interesting article, right? The Guardian, it was published on April 18th, and title of the article is "The Virus Doesn't Discriminate, but Governments Do." Latinos disproportionately hit by coronavirus. Okay, last week.
I love that title.
I know, right? Last episode, right, we talked about how the Surgeon General was basically accused of what's the word?
He was accused of racism.
Yeah, racism. Thank you. Because he told that he used phrases that are used by you and me, like "mama," "pop up," and all that. It's like, you should have talked to black people like that. You should talk to Latinos like that either. His language is engulfed in racism. And then we pointed out that the Surgeon General is a black man. And we pointed out how pre-existing conditions that are prominent in the Latino and the black community are reasons why we're being more affected by the coronavirus, right? Obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, a whole number of reasons why, right? But according to the Guardian, it's because of governments. Okay, so it starts off here that where's it at actually? And it says Latinos across the U.S. are disproportionately getting sick from coronavirus, in some regions being affected and hospitalized up to 3 times the rate of white Americans. Okay. All right. And then you go on the article, basically breaks it down in a couple states. And then it says, still public health experts warn that official statistics may be underestimating the virus's toll on Latino communities, wary of seeking medical care due to the lack of health insurance, and in many cases, fearing to go into hospitals will expose them to immigration authorities. Now, here's my first question to the Guardian. Are you assuming that all Latinos going to the hospital are some sort of immigrants?
Illegal immigrants.
No. Hold on. Let's break it down. Let's break it down. So, you just assume that all Latinos in the community are immigrants. And then you assume that all the Latinos in the community are also illegal immigrants. I guess the Guardian doesn't know what the distinction is between illegal and legal immigrants. Okay, so that's why I guess the illegal immigrants who happen to be Latinos are afraid to seek for help. Because they don't want to disclose their immigration status, even though U.S. federal law says you don't have to disclose your immigration status when seeking medical help. But I guess it is an English publication. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, right?
But like you said, it's assuming that every Latino is an immigrant. I mean, you and I are Latinos, and we're
I know.
U.S.
That's the problem. I mean, if that's not racist and condescending, that's the word I was looking for. Condescending. If that's not condescending, I mean, yeah, okay. Okay, so.
And not only that, okay, like you explained, I get it now. I get what you're saying.
Okay. Okay, so, and it goes on, it says, with the exception of diabetes, Latinos on average have lower rates of heart disease, cancers, hypertension, and other conditions. It doesn't matter if we're lower rates, right? We still have the rates in the Latino community, okay? And then it goes on to saying that for many Latinos, the economic fallout from pandemic is just as worrying as the health risks, leaving many with little choice but to risk their lives in frontline jobs. But unemployment has also disproportionately affected Latinos. Compared to the overall U.S. population, Latinos disproportionately say they or someone in their household have taken a pay cut, lost a job, or both since the pandemic hit, according to Pew Research. So we went to the Pew Research, right? We went to the Pew Research tab, and we found out that many of the Latinos that they're basically pointing out are in low skilled jobs, basically because of lack of education, but also they are in the food industry, which has been severely affected, right? Severely affected by this pandemic. Okay.
And not only the food industry, but also the hospitality business, also in the housing.
Yeah, housing, yeah, right.
And the janitorial stuff.
Right.
They're also, in the jobs where they do gardening and do yard work and they do maintenance stuff and they do handyman stuff. So it's not just in the food industry. I mean, you have to look at the jobs that they have, right? The majority of Latinos are in, and then how those jobs or the industry has been affected by the coronavirus, right? I mean, if all of a sudden there's no more hotel stays because you can't travel, that leaves a lot of Latinos who work in the hospitality business, whether they be housemaids or, maintenance guys in the hotel, they're going to be out of work. If you're talking about, the other day, I seen in social media about how gardeners shouldn't be gardening and shouldn't be mowing lawns because of the pandemic. And the majority of those people are Latinos, right? So they have to stay home. So the Guardian is saying that they're making it look like Latinos are worse off than everybody else. Yes, but not because we're signaling them out. It's because of the industry they work in.
Exactly.
It's the jobs they do, right? Because if you think about it, there's still people picking fruits in the fields of California, right? For the grocery stores, right? I mean, there's a bunch of articles and social media posts saying that these pickers in the fields are essential, right? But yet they're Latinos and they're still working. So it makes it look dire, like, oh my God, they're the worst off. But white people don't have the positions a lot of Latinos have. I mean, some of them are able to work from home, right? And there's some Latinos that can work from home too, right? Let's just clear that too. Not all Latinos are janitors or work the service sector, the food industry, but they also have different positions. But a majority of Latinos who don't have education, like Eddie said, are working in positions that are literally been closed because of the pandemic.
Yeah, so yeah, and that's where we get to the whole government's discriminated. It points out that, quote, moreover, the Trump administration policies discourage Latino immigrants from making use of public health insurance and government benefits such as food stamps, as well as the continuation of immigration enforcement. Even as COVID-19 spreads to the country, has ratcheted up the fear that asking for assistance could land them in the radar of immigration officials or even separate them from the children. this language is just horrible. Okay, it's horrible. These policies of illegal immigrants not being able to use public health benefits is part of a lot of states' regulations. It's not pre-Trump, that date pre-Trump. That's what I'm trying to say. It's laws that predate Trump. Again, in California, New York, Texas, Florida, whatever, they all have these regulations. The federal law prohibits, right, public benefits to be used, to be given to illegal aliens, right? Unless they're a sanctuary state, then they have amended those laws to a certain degree, right? But for the most part, that's what you get. Okay, so these are laws that predate Trump. But again, right, again, to label us, right, again, the media, to label us all as immigrants and to label us all as illegal immigrants is the issue. Furthermore, you fail to point out the biggest flaw in this whole argument. Right, the biggest issue in this whole argument is not even the Latinos or illegal aliens that are on the fields. It's the disproportion of low-skilled immigrants coming into America. Right, and then when you hear President Trump say, we have to be more selective of the people that we go in, because the failure of immigration reform is even more evident in this article, because a lot of immigrants that are coming in are low-skilled workers. Okay. So guess what, people? When you have a pandemic, right? When you have a pandemic and essential jobs are gone out the door, guess what people are going to be seeking now? Low-skilled end jobs. You're going to be working at a Walmart. You're going to be working at Amazon. Where you just have to learn how to scan, and that's not a diss on you workers. That's not. I'm just saying the kind of skills that you need, right? You don't need to be an analyst. You don't even have to be in front of a computer typing so many formulas a day. You just need to know how to scan, move a box or so forth, work a forklift, whatever it is. It's not a high-skilled job. I'm just being a realist, okay? Picking fruits off the fields is not a high-skilled job. But when those workers have been there for years and you have a pandemic like this, and now those people that are unemployed have to go find jobs where people already are employed at a lower rate, good luck in getting a job. That's the problem. The lack of immigration reform is what should be argued in articles like this. Not that, we can't be seeking public benefits or the government's being discriminated. No, it's not being discriminated at all. It's not. It's just you have to argue.
It's true. I agree.
You have to argue this proportion of low-skilled immigrants to the low-skilled immigrants in America, and then when those two forces collide, you're gonna have articles like this.
And not only that, they're comparing Latinos with whites. Okay, it's not even Latinos and blacks or Latinos and
I'm just saying unskilled people
or Latinos and Latinos versus the country as a whole. They're comparing against whites. All right. So going back to the many arguments that, white people always blame Latinos for taking their jobs, right? It's going back to that whole racial thing. It's like, okay, well, these Latinos are taking entry-level, non-skilled jobs, right? Am I saying whites are more skilled? No. Am I saying that they're better? No. But what I'm saying is that since a lot of these jobs that the Pew Research quotes as the jobs that the Latinos are affected, there's not a lot of white people in those positions. If you were to say, a Latino attorney versus a white attorney, then you can compare apples to apples, right? But you can't compare a entry-level Latino at a low-skilled job with a white person at a law firm.
Who just lost their job at the law firm.
Or a doctor, white doctor, or whatever it is, or even a white manager, right? You can't compare apples to apples. So the comparison between Latinos and whites, it's even misleading in itself, because you're not referring to whites at the same social economic level as these Latinos that you're referencing to, right? And in the field that these Latinos work at and have been negatively affected by the pandemic, in reality, there's not a lot of whites in those fields, in those jobs, Why? Because it's predominantly Latino. Right? So this article also makes the mistake of comparing one race with the other as if they all could be comparable to each other, which is not. It's not specifying low-skilled, entry-level whites versus low-skilled Latinos. It's not comparing those.
Exactly.
It's comparing an entire race, all right? And like we just said a couple of seconds ago, not all Latinos are low-skilled workers. No. We have friends and family who are professionals and doctorate degree and
so forth, right?
And happen to be Latino, right? So the Guardian is misleading people to think about racial inequality when it in fact is not giving us an apples to apples comparison. It's giving us an apple and avocado comparison. It's giving us an apple and a banana comparison. Okay? Nada que ver, you know? So that's also something you have to look at when you read these articles. Who are they comparing to? And the Guardian did a poor job. And I agree with Eddie. It's terrible. It's a terrible argument by the Guardian. And we'll give them benefit of the doubt because they're British. But still.
Yeah, they're terrible, man.
Terrible.
but you know, I mean, not white, but Donald Trump's racist policies have allowed a lot of, according to the Guardian, have allowed a lot of restrictions and ability to Latinos to receive benefits, which leads us to the next topic. Okay, Governor Newsom just got sued. Okay, got sued by yes, I will admit it is a conservative. It's a conservative group. Okay, it is a conservative group. That's not what's interesting. That's not what's interesting at all. I mean, of course, conservative. Yeah, if you think, conservatives are going to sue Governor Newsom because he wants to give taxpayer money to illegals. Yeah, shocker, Eddie. That's shocking. I mean, come on, Eddie. You can do better than that, right? Yeah, I mean, come on. Eddie and Hyman can do better than that, right? And yes, we can. Yes, we can, dang it. Because do you even know who sued Newsom? Do you even know who sued Newsom? Okay, so according to the reports, this is local KTLF5, right? The nonprofit Center for American Liberty filed an emergency petition to the California Supreme Court requesting a stay on the governor's action, arguing the state and federal law bar unemployment benefits to those without legal status and provide the money to nonprofit groups represents an improper gift of taxpayer funds. Typical conservative argument. You can't do it. You can't give taxpayer money to illegals. That's not the shocking part. Here it comes. Ready? You got your margaritas?
I'm ready, Eddie.
You ready? You ready? Okay.
Hit him with the shocker.
The plaintiffs in the lawsuit are Whittier Councilwoman Jessica Martinez and Ricardo Benitez, an immigrant from El Salvador who is now a U.S. citizen. By the way, Councilwoman Jessica Martinez of Whittier, first Latina to be appointed to the city council. I'm just saying. I'm saying.
Did you say Latina?
Yeah.
And a Latino? An immigrant
Latino and legal immigrant Latino from El Salvador, right? And the first Latina councilwoman for the city of Whittier filed a lawsuit against Newsom for using taxpayer money to help out illegal immigrants. Does anybody want to call Mario Corin from the Guardian and see if that still applies now? Because, I mean, Donald Trump. Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. So, yes, I'll give it to you. Yes, they're conservative, right? But I thought all conservatives were white. I thought all the majority of the conservatives were evil, white, rich old men. So then why is a woman
Latina
and an immigrant turned U.S. citizen, Latino, suing the governor? Maybe it has to do with something called following the law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much the lawsuit claims that the governor of California can't make that move. He cannot give cash payments to nonprofit organizations to be given to undocumented workers, right? because you need to be able to trace where this money is from. It's kind of like a quid pro
quo.
kind of deal.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what
Where,
and that's what I think the lawsuit's going for. That if you just give away taxpayer money, you're not going to hold these nonprofits accountable. So how are you going to? You basically just gave away money.
And then you're not. And then the Governor Newsom doesn't give an outline of how this money should be used, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say that they're actually going to use the money for the purpose of helping undocumented workers? For all we know, the nonprofits can also even go to the extreme of getting a fee from that for their own organization.
Yeah, and according to the California Constitution,
people getting the help.
Yeah, but according to the California Constitution, it's not Governor Newsom who even handle the funds. It's supposed to be the state legislature, right? So that's the other thing. So that's what the argument is, that the state legislature should be handling the funds of disbursement and so forth. And no, it's just Newsom trying to give these nonprofits money, and you can't do that per federal law and per California Constitution. So
yeah, and he's just blatantly giving money without holding him accountable or giving a record of who it is who's getting the money. Pretty much, there's no way of keeping track that the money actually went to the individuals who needed it, and that the individuals who got the money actually deserve it, or not deserve it, but actually needed the money, right? So there's no track record. But the fact that 2 Latinos sued is amazing, because it's like Governor Newsom is trying to be a hero for Latinos, right? We spoke about an MM Talk. He's trying to be a hero, saying that, oh yeah, I'm helping undocumented immigrants, giving them $175 million. And yet 2 Latinos are suing the governor for an illegal action. And one of them happens to be an immigrant, a naturalized citizen who is suing him. And the other is a female Latina, okay, suing the governor. And not only that, it shows validity because the Supreme Court is siding now with the plaintiff and asking Governor Newsom and the Attorney General to hand over the documentation that this is a legal process. That this
Where's Jorge Ramos? Where's Jose Balar? Where's Univision? Where are these people? I mean, it's amazing, and you painted it perfectly. I'm glad you did it, because I was about to, but you did it. Thank you. I said, just look at the canvas of this, okay? It's like, do some hero for Latinos, and like Latinos, right? Like the progressive Latinos, and those are like, yay! And then from this side, unexpectedly, you have more Latinos saying, hell no, and then they sue them, and then the Supreme Court says you have to. It's I have to keep an eye on this news, man. I have to keep an eye on it, because I want to see if, when it breaks out, how Telemundo, Univision, and all these media outlets report it. Because I bet you 100% that the only thing they're going to mention is, yes, 2 Republican officials, they sued the governor, and they're never going to mention the Latinos. And it's going to die out.
Or, and they do mention the Latinos, they're going to be like they're sellouts or they're traitors to their own race.
That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for. Because this is, I mean, you can't make this up, dude. You can't make this up. I mean, it's the odds of that, dude. The odds of 2 Latino politicians suing the governor for a progressive so-called Latino movement. I mean, come on, man. What are the odds of that?
Well, we have to look at. We'll have to keep an eye on it, because.
So we'll keep an eye.
Interesting.
It's interesting. So when we say it was shocking, that's why. That's why.
2 Latinos.
So
that ethnic group that the governor is trying to be a hero for, 2 people from that ethnic group is suing him for such an action. So it's interesting, and like Eddie said, we'll keep an eye on how it's being reported in Spanish media and by progressive, liberal Latino organizations who praise the governor, and see how it should. So far, Supreme Court is pretty much validating the plaintiffs.
The plaintiffs, yeah.
People suing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens and how the law interprets and what the Supreme Court of California determines to do. Because the Supreme Court of California says,
no,
they just put 50-50 scenario. If it says yes, then it's a win for Governor Newsom, right?
Yeah.
And it's a win for progressive Latinos and liberal Latinos, right? But if the Supreme Court of California says no, then Governor Newsom just pretty much is no longer a hero. He just gave people false hope.
No, he won't. He still will be a warrior because he's gonna be said, well, at least he tried.
I guess you could do that argument. At least he tried. But I guess my thing is more of like
he's a social justice warrior. That's what I'm trying to get to.
I don't know. For me, it'd be like, well, I don't know. I guess it's just like more of like, well, you try to do something that you don't have the right to do, but for your own political gain, you did it anyways,
right?
Without taking into consideration the negative effects, psychological and political, of Latinos for screwing this up in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm just quoting liberal progressive vernacular.
I got you. But we're not done with Newsom yet. We are not done with Newsom yet. So as you
see, beloved governor is for the last
good man. 2 episodes, a couple episodes now we've been on Newsom and his dealings with China. We're not done yet. Okay. Article. California Globe. Gavin Newsom administration not releasing details on 1 billion California contract coronavirus masks. Now, we have pointed out what some of the problems are with these masks, beyond that it was a Chinese subsidiary, beyond the fact that they paid somebody $20,000 to get the FDA approval, beyond the fact, of course, that Chinese equipment is being defective. I believe Spain just shipped all their masks back to China for doing so, but they're not releasing the details of this deal, Jaime. They're not releasing.
So the state that wants accountability, right? The governor who says that, Trump should be held accountable, right? And he shouldn't be getting away with things, is pretty much playing the same playbook that he accuses Trump of doing, right? So the state legislator is asking details about the $1 billion deal, and the governor is pleading executive privilege.
Yes.
Not in those literal terms, but pretty much making us understand that he has executive privilege as governor.
Right.
To not disclose that information.
Right. So Christina Curry, Chief Deputy Director, State Office of Emergency Services, okay, told senators via video conference, I'm pretty sure it was a Zoom conference, right? That disclosing all specifics of its contract with the Chinese manufacturer BYD could disrupt the line of masks to the state. I'll say that again. Disclosing all specifics of its contract with the Chinese manufacturer BYD could disrupt the supply of lines of masks to the states. Furthermore, she says, our goal is to get the supply into California for the people who need it. We do intend to provide that when we have assurances that the supply is going to be arriving with the requirements that we have set forth. So that's when they're going to release the timeline when, you get the stuff. Okay? Because at this point, they haven't provided anything.
So pretty much the governor of California is not releasing the details of the deal to the state Senate. Wait, last time the president was being impeached.
Can you say collusion?
Right? I mean, how is the governor not doing the similar things that they try to remove the president for?
I think there should be we need to contact our good old friend over there. What was the guy's name again from the Russian collusion? What was his name? I forgot his name.
Schiff?
No. The lawyer, the special prosecutor.
The prosecutor for the
that did the investigation. What's his name?
Oh, oh God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dang. It just happened like last month.
What's his name? Oh my God, it's gonna bug me. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to look it up now. This is horrible.
it's on top of the tip of my tongue, but I can't say it.
Bob Mueller.
Mueller.
Yeah, can we get Bob Mueller over here and see if there's a Chinese conspiracy or a Chinese collusion between Gavin Newsom and the Chinese Communist Party? Because my goodness, this smells like it.
Pretty much. I mean, just like, I'm not going to repeat myself, but pretty much the governor is saying that he has executive privilege to not release that information, right? So the hypocrisy that the governor is showing in this deal is pretty suspicious. And it's not smelling good so far, right? Because Donald Trump pretty much one of the articles was obstruction of Congress. Okay? So I'm not saying we got to impeach the governor, but his actions saying that, oh, I don't need to release this information because we need to get these face masks out, it's pretty much falling into the same category.
And what's interesting though is that state Senate Democrats want the information.
Good.
When your own party's asking for your information, can we please get Bob Mueller?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on now. He's no longer. I don't think he's part of the agency anymore. Right? He's not part of the federal government anymore, right? It's not being. So I mean, I think y'all need to hire Bob Mueller and try to figure this thing out. You can't get Adam Schiff. You can't do it. No, but Bob Mueller. I think you can get Bob Mueller. And we'll leave it there. So it's interesting. Keep an eye on, California smells like Chinese collusion to me, but we'll see. We'll see. But with that, we're gonna leave it here.
Thank you for tuning in and MM Talk. Remember, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. To please follow us on our social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please share. Please tell people to get informed with us if they want more information or more analysis breakdown of the headlines. Thank you for tuning in with MM Talk. We are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
And remember,
we're tired of it too.